Welcome back to Bloodraven's painting tutorial. The next step, I'm going to use Abaddon Black to base coat all the bits of the armor that are going to be black and silver. Next step, I'm going to use Dheneb Stone to base coat the shoulder pads. Remember to thin it down because it's a very light color, and light colors tend to leave brush strokes, and we don't want that. It's better to make this on two layers than have a very ugly looking layer of thick paint. Next step, I'm going to use Caliban Green, and I'm going to use it to base coat the lenses of the eyes. Try to use your finest brush for this job. Next up, I'm using Warboss Green to highlight the lenses of the eyes, trying to paint only half of the eye. Next up, I'm using Moot Green to highlight the very end of the front part of the lens. This will create a 3-color transition that would look very good. Next, we use White Scar to make a little dot to make the indication of reflection on the lens. You can see that I didn't do it right the first time, but I fixed it off camera, because that's one of my Achilles heels. And next, I'm going to use the Balthasar gold to base coat the Aquila. Try to use a glaze medium or water to thin it down, because we don't want to cover the detail with a thick coat of paint. Next, I'm using Leadbelcher, again thinned down, and I'm going to use this to paint the silver parts of the miniature, which is there aren't very many. Here I'm base coating the gun on Leadbelcher as well. Next, I'm gonna use washes. We start with a Gryphonne Sepia on the shoulder pads, just to give it a little bit of a shade on the cracks and crevices. And then I'm using Devlan mud or Agrax Earthshade for the gold bits. And lastly, Nuln oil for the silver bits, including the gun. Next step, I'm gonna use Dheneb Stone, watered down again, and I'm gonna highlight the shoulder pads. Try to cover the whole area of the shoulder pads. I'm not really looking for a transition, I just want the shoulder pads to be of this color. Again, water the color down because we don't want the brush strokes looking all over the shoulder pads. Next step, I'm gonna use Gehenna's gold to highlight the gold parts of the miniature, focusing on the outer parts of the feathers on the aquila and the top parts of the skull there. Next step, I'm gonna base coat with Dheneb Stone the Purity Seal, which I forgot to do it on a previous step. And then I'm gonna use Warboss Green to base coat the Purity Seal wax. And then I'm gonna highlight it with Moot Green, just on the edges. Next step, I'm gonna wash it with the Gryphonne Sepia wash. And while that dries, I'll use Codex Gray to highlight the edges of the black parts of the miniature. Edge highlighting. Next step, I'm gonna go back to the Purity Seal and highlight the raised edges with Dheneb Stone. Now the last step is to inscribe some letters into the Purity Seal, and also I did it in the shoulder pads, but I didn't show the process, but you'll see it at the end. So here it is. Here is my finished Bloodraven Space Marine. If you want to see any more tutorials on Space Marines or any other army, I'm willing to listen to you guys and do some of your requests if I have the miniature. And please let me know what you think about the tutorial. And if you want to see more, please support me, leaving comments, liking the video, and that sort of stuff. Here are some still photos. And that's it. Thank you very much for your support, and I'll see you on the next tutorial.